There's a pattern in history that keeps repeating itself. Innovation, disruption, machine automation, layoffs, panic, chaos. It's the same cycle again. And right now, the USA is following the exact same script. Only this time, the results may be far more catastrophic. This chaos isn't new. Fear has always existed, from early printing presses to textile automation and the Industrial Revolution. It created new opportunities and destroyed many others. Many were left with no choice but to adapt, and it seems that adaptation becomes harder and harder over time. These concerns have always existed. In the 1950s, The Nation magazine called it the Automation Depression. We are stumbling blindly into the automation era, with no concept or plan to reconcile the need of workers for income and the need of business for cost-cutting and worker-displacing innovations. There were many revolutions over the past few centuries. In the late 18th and early 19th century, the transition to steam and mechanization brought both fear and optimism. Then came electricity and the rise of mass production. Computers and digital technology followed, and now in this century, we're facing AI and intelligent automation. Each revolution automated something different. Once, machines replaced muscle. Then, computers replaced memory. Now, they're replacing intelligence. The tools may change, but the pattern stays the same. But let's rewind a bit. It all starts with a spark. The first successful steam engine was invented in the early 1700s. It didn't change much. People were still working the same way. Meanwhile, the technology kept improving. In 1712, the steam engine was used commercially in a mine. As technology improved over the following decades, widespread use of these engines began in the 1760s. This innovation improved work efficiency and allowed for early mass production, serving a much larger population and creating massive profits in return. Of course, this transition displaced many workers who didn't or couldn't adapt and improve their skills. On the other hand, the installation of these engines opened new, higher-skilled jobs. More companies started making their own engines and improving their designs, opening a completely new market. Engineers were in high demand at the time. This revolution, along with others happening at the same time, allowed empires to rise and dominate. The United States began massive adoption of this revolution, expanding its railway system and using it to expand production across the country. More mines were explored, more resources were gathered, and armies could move over longer distances faster. Supply was available in a much shorter time and at lower cost. This spark and later integration opened new opportunities for this innovation to be used elsewhere, beyond the mines, the railways, and then the first car. New markets were emerging everywhere. With these new markets came new opportunities for people. This revolution required more advanced skills, which led to the growth of schools and universities, making them a default part of society. Muscles were being replaced, and the demand was now for more intellectual skills. Generations believed they were building freedom and efficiency, until the machines they built decided who would live in freedom and who would live in stress, panic, and hard times. Then the question was raised, if we can replace muscle, can't we also replace memory? The idea was simple. Let people focus on thinking, and let the machines remember, count, collect, and handle the mundane brain work. Punch card machines were introduced to take over the massive labor needed to gather population data and even count votes in presidential elections. It was the early shift toward data processing, no longer just replacing muscle, but starting to replace thought. By the early 1900s, IBM was established, setting the pace for major developments in data processing and the later transition to the digital age. As technology advanced rapidly, IBM introduced the first commercial computer in the 1950s, and by the 1980s, computers had found their way into many American homes. During the same time, manufacturing jobs had finally started to decline. The knowledge economy became the new norm and the most dominant force. What's interesting about these technologies is how quickly they can evolve. A single innovation in one field can completely transform another within just a few years. The first airplane took off in the early 1900s, and by the 1960s, humans were already in space. What's both exciting and terrifying is that the rate of change keeps accelerating. For most of human history, progress was painfully slow. But once technology became commercialized, once it became core to society, innovation began to snowball faster and faster. By the 2010s, automation had already escaped the factory floor. It was no longer about machines lifting boxes or assembling cars. It was algorithms writing code, answering emails, and analyzing data faster than humans ever could. Artificial intelligence entered offices, studios, and design labs, spaces once thought untouchable. ChatGPT could write, DALL-E could paint, and Midjourney could create art that once required human imagination. AI began managing logistics, predicting consumer behavior, and even conducting financial analysis. Autonomous trucks started driving across American highways. In Amazon warehouses, robots moved with precision while human workers struggled to keep up. McKinsey estimated that 30% of all U.S. work activities could be automated by 2030, and Goldman Sachs predicted that 300 million jobs worldwide could be replaced. At first, corporations celebrated efficiency. Headlines praised record profits and productivity spikes. But beneath the optimism, fear was spreading. Tech layoffs became routine. Creative professionals watched algorithms outperform them, and even white-collar workers realized no one was safe. The irony was painful. Machines built to help people were now the ones replacing them. For the first time, the machine wasn't just working, it was thinking. And just like every revolution before it, the winners weren't the workers. They were the owners of the machines. The question now isn't when machines will take over, it's whether we can evolve fast enough to stay useful. By 2025, the American workforce looked efficient on paper. Productivity was at record highs, profits were soaring, and automation was everywhere. But behind the numbers, the story was very different. The labor participation rate sat near a 20-year low. Real wages barely moved, even as output kept climbing. The economy was running faster than ever, but fewer people were invited to run with it. Gig work replaced full-time jobs. More than a third of American workers now piece together income from deliveries, freelance contracts, or rideshare apps. There's no safety net, no benefits, no real weekends. Just an endless hustle to stay afloat. The middle class, once the foundation of the country, is thinning out. S&P 500 companies are breaking profit records while cutting staff. A warehouse worker laid off last year now drives for Uber. A former office manager packs boxes for an online retailer. They aren't lazy, they're exhausted, working more and earning less with no clear way back. 66% of workers report feeling burned out. Online, quiet quitting and anti-work aren't just trends, they're coping mechanisms. People aren't rebelling against work itself, but against what work has become: repetitive, unstable, and hollow. Every revolution leaves a generation behind before society adapts. This one is no different. The signs are clear. America has entered stage 5. Burnout, inequality, and distrust aren't accidents. They're symptoms of an economy built for machines, not people. This isn't just economics, it's philosophy. What happens when a nation loses its reason to work? Automation was supposed to make life easier. It was meant to free people from repetitive work, to give them more time, more comfort, more choice. Instead, it built a system that measures everything and questions nothing. Today, algorithms decide who gets a job, a loan, or even medical treatment. Over 50% of US companies now use some form of automated resume screening or AI hiring tool. Credit scores and insurance rates are increasingly shaped by predictive analytics, not people. Hospitals use algorithms to determine which patients get priority care. They judge risk, potential, and value faster than any person could. But without context, empathy, or accountability, In the name of efficiency, privacy is traded away, and human judgment quietly disappears. A handful of companies control the backbone of this new economy. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Oracle, and BlackRock now hold over 2/3 of the world's cloud and AI infrastructure. Amazon Web Services alone powers roughly 1/3 of the global internet's cloud traffic. BlackRock's Aladdin platform manages more than $20 trillion in assets through algorithmic decision-making. Oracle's data systems quietly run much of the world's business, banking, and even government databases. These firms don't just store our data, they shape what the economy prioritizes. The irony is painful. A nation that once worshipped productivity now lives under it. Every click, every purchase, every movement is optimized, analyzed, and monetized. We aren't the users anymore. We're the data source. This is the efficiency trap, a loop that no longer needs to grow, only to keep running. When everything is optimized, who is it optimized for? Every revolution ends the same way, with a reckoning. After the steam and smoke cleared, the world created labor laws and the 8-hour workday. After the Great Depression, America built Social Security and the safety nets that still hold parts of the system together. Each crisis forced reform. Each reform gave society a second chance. But this time there's no blueprint. The digital age ended with a gig economy, not a new safety net. AI has rewritten the rules faster than the country can read them. The question now is whether the United States will correct its course or wait until the next collapse forces it to. Two futures stand ahead. In one, automation becomes a tool for freedom. Shorter work weeks, universal access to productivity, and time to live, not just to survive. In the other, it deepens inequality and control, where the few own the code that governs the many. America stands at the same crossroads every empire has faced: adapt or decline. But this time, the consequences won't stop at its borders. Because the machine isn't just an American creation anymore. It's everywhere. It's our mirror, showing us what we've built and what we've forgotten. What happens next will define not just a nation, but an entire century. Automation started as a promise: freedom from labor, more time, a better life. But every promise comes with fine print. Each revolution changes the world, and in the process, it changes us. We built machines to serve us, but somewhere along the way, we started serving them. Progress never stops. It just moves to the next version.